Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast, and we got Terry and Rob here. Boomer up.
Boomer Terry.
Caleb's on the DL list for tonight. He was wanting to come in here and hate on some Okie Stank, but feeling a little bit under the weather. So you just got me and Rob. And are you ready to talk a little bit of Bedlam football, Rob?
Absolutely.
Well, before we get to Bedlam, we need to clarify two things. One is that you need to hit your subscribe button, follow button, whatever you're listening to us on, YouTube, Apple, our own podcast site. Just hit that subscribe. It'll download to your phone. You'll never have to search for us again. We'll just be there in your phone from now on. And
the other thing is we're not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
Because we still have eligibility left.
But we have.
So if anybody's out there want to, have Lincoln, put out the eyeballs for, some possible recruits.
Mm-hmm. We're available.
We're available.
Yeah.
And also, before we get on the Bedlam stuff, I just want to read one thing that, I listened to part of it today, but, my memory is not what it used to be, so I have to write things down. Actually, I don't write things down. I copy and paste them to a Word and, print them off. But I wanted to just finish up the Texas Tech game.
Okay.
And Lincoln Riley on the defense against Texas Tech. We were okay, we were okay. Kind of like we were on all three sides of the ball. We weren't great. We weren't terrible. We were somewhere between. We were tough. We played really, really hard. We had some game-changing plays. We weren't as good as we need to be and as good as we can be. So basically what Lincoln said is what we said last night. They weren't good. They were average.
Right.
So,
wasn't horrible.
No.
Wasn't good.
So defense has got to play better in the next coming games.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
especially against West Virginia, because it really, I think that's the only team that still has an opportunity to beat us.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think Oklahoma State has the horses. Now, I could be wrong. They're gonna play it like it's the Super Bowl this weekend, but talent-wise, I don't think they have what it takes to beat us. But I think West Virginia might.
Yeah. But then again, West Virginia got manhandled by Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous about West Virginia, but I want to hate on Oklahoma State for a while.
Okay.
Rob, do you know what happened on November 6th, 1904?
Yes. The college up at Stillwater was formed, and they called themselves Aggies. No, I don't know.
Close.
I don't have a clue.
On November 6th, 1904 in Guthrie, Oklahoma, the first Bedlam game was ever played. Guess who won it?
OU?
OU.
Huh.
Guess what the score was?
100-0.
You're close, buddy. 75-0. Now, see, this is where I don't understand football back in those days. Didn't they count a touchdown as 1 point back in 1904? I don't know.
I have no clue. I have no clue.
I would think so. But so anyway, we ran up the score on them, 75-0.
Nice.
So just wanted to start out Bedlam week like that. Just a reminder of the dominance started, I don't know how many years ago that was, 100 and a lot.
14.
There you go. If you say so.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at the new math, Rob.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's look at what Oklahoma State's done this year, Rob. They beat Missouri State.
Yes, that's impressive.
58-17.
Mm-hmm.
They beat South Alabama.
Yep.
But they
Is that
thought,
high school or
I'm not sure, but
okay.
But I think they thought it was Alabama just because it had Alabama in the name.
Oh, okay.
So they thought, "Ooh, we're playing Alabama," and they went, "No, we're South Alabama." When they showed up, so
yeah.
they won that game 55-13.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mighty Boise State Broncos, who at that time were ranked 17, they walloped 44-21, and everybody realized after that game, Boise State ain't no good this year. They took their first loss to Texas Tech, 41-17.
Mm.
They beat Kansas 48-28, but they let Kansas put 28 points on them. They got beat by Iowa State 48-42. Then they went to Kansas State and got,
Smacked again.
Smacked 31-12. And then for somehow they sucked it up and beat Texas 38-35. And then we all know what happened last week at the mighty Baylor Bears, losing 35-31. So they come in 5-4 overall record, 2-4 in the conference.
Yeah, and last week didn't we say we didn't think they were going to win another game?
I'm surprised that they have. I was really surprised at the Texas game.
Yeah, I was too. I just thought Texas would be able to manhandle them a little bit, which tells me that Oklahoma State's a little bit better than we're giving them credit for. Although we're not gonna give them any credit for being any better. But I mean, something's weird about them. They're just up and they're down. They play. How do you get? Just manhandled by Kansas State, who we just throttled.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, what do you get when you cross an OSU fan with an ape?
I don't know.
A dumb ape.
Alrighty.
That's one of many tonight, just so you know.
Okay. It's going to be one of those nights,
It's going to be one of those nights. So, Taylor Cornelius is their quarterback. Don't they call him
corn
cob?
Corn face?
Cornhole?
Something corn.
Corn nugget?
Dog corn. No, corn dog.
Corn dog?
Corn dog. That's
corn
it.
dog. Let's see. He's had 181, he's 181 of 302. He's had 181 completions out of 302 attempts. Completion rating of 59.9%. And yards per catch, or yards per attempt, or yards per catch, 8.68. 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Well, he's got the size. I mean, he's a prototypical pro quarterback.
But
I don't think he has the skills, though, do you?
No, and their offensive line is terrible this year. Yeah. That's been a big thing, which should be good for us if we decide to rush the passer this weekend.
Well, we seem to be favoring that 3-down lineman kind of a deal, which none of us like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Whoever invented that, I hate them. But
yeah, I mean, it had to do it. The more we think about it, and or cooler heads prevail. There had to be something that they saw and that they were trying to do with that 3-man front. But the issue with it was, again, looking at it and thinking about it today, was if you're going to only rush 3 men, you got to put some pressure on those receivers. You can't give them a 7-yard catch.
Yeah, you got to bump them off the line.
Yeah, and that's I think everybody's issue is the 3-man front. Well, you're not going to get a pass rush because you're giving the guys a 10-yard cushion. So there's no chance of a pass rush.
Yeah, I don't like it. You know what Barry Switzer would say, though?
Yeah, his same thing he's been saying. It's not the 3 men in the front; it's the 8 men behind him. So it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work. But I don't know. I got a feeling that Oklahoma State isn't that type of throwing team that spread out like Tech is. So I got a feeling they're going to be a little bit more aggressive.
Well, they don't have the. I mean, he's just not accurate enough, I don't think, to throw downfield like Rudolph was. So, I mean, they're going to try and play a little bit more balanced attack. I mean, why wouldn't they? They got Justice Hill. He's a great back. So I think if we sell out to stop him, really we
make cornhole, cornhead,
and
corn nugget, cornbread.
Can.
There was a guy, McAllister, his nickname was Cornbread. It's a big dude, he liked being called Cornbread, so it was okay.
Seems an odd, nickname, but
yeah, Cornbread.
What was your nickname in high school?
Long. That's what they called me.
Long.
Yeah. That's just everybody was Long, or
well,
not
that
everybody.
was creative.
Yeah, I know.
Your last name was Long.
Yeah, and that's it's funny. Caleb also that's what everybody in high school called him was Long or Dr. Long. Some people called him Dr. Long. I don't know why. Not sure I'd want to know why. So
yeah, you let him keep that to himself.
Yeah, so it had something to do with basketball. And you can at him on Twitter. It's at Dr. Long.
Yep, feel free.
Something. It's one of Kobe's numbers. What was Kobe's numbers?
20
something and
24.
20. Yeah, at Dr. Long 24 or at Dr. Long 08, something like that. But anyway.
Oh yeah, 8. Yeah, 8.
Yeah.
Who was 24 then? I don't
He
know.
did. He changed his number when he came.
Oh,
in.
he did.
When he came in, he was number 8, and
Okay.
then he went to 24. I think maybe.
I'm
Something
surprised
like
I
that.
knew that.
But does anything about this weekend concern you, Rob? Because it's Oklahoma State.
The only thing that does concern me is, this is they know they may not win another game. I mean, if it's crossed our mind, it's definitely crossed theirs. So they may pull out all the stops. They may come in here. This is their Super Bowl, and they may play lights out. I mean, I don't think they will, but I mean,
Right.
it could happen. So that worries me a little bit. That if they play their best game and we play like we did Saturday, they could beat us. I mean,
Yeah.
So that would be extremely embarrassing for us.
Yeah. Rob, do you know what happened on November 6th, 1914?
Something, no.
Oklahoma played Oklahoma A&M for the 9th time, and that was the first time Oklahoma State ever scored against Oklahoma.
Oh, boy. 9 years?
9 years. And that game, Oklahoma won it 28-6.
They may have should have just at that point just said, you know what, we don't really want to play you guys anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's something about, they've always played the game in November and December. I'm trying to look, November and October. I was trying to look for some other dates, but it doesn't look like it. What do you think? I mean, we were talking about it before. Gundy, does he have to play this game off as nonchalant? Is that what
he just does it all the time, though, doesn't he? Like,
yeah.
That's what he does every time. Is this like this game doesn't mean anything? I'm gonna tell you something. He's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it means more to them.
It means a lot to his fan base and that's what I think gets pissed off about it is his fan base gets upset because, I mean here it is. It's the in-state rival. It's Oklahoma. They don't like Oklahoma fans. They don't like Oklahoma, and he treats it just like it's another game. Lincoln Riley treats it like it's another game because in the overall scope of things,
right.
It is just another game for Oklahoma. It's an in-state rivalry. But I want to clarify that an in-state rivalry does not mean it's a rivalry. The two teams happen to be in Oklahoma. They're in the same conference. And it's not a rivalry game because if it was a rivalry game, it would be a closer match. You know what I mean? It would, it would be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's.
It would be 65-60,
If we looked up the definition for rivalry, I don't think this game would appear, but.
Yeah. Well, and I tried that today. I tried, Googling, the, number one college football rivalries, and not once did Oklahoma State show up. Oklahoma and Texas did on a bunch of the lists. I even tried Googling the most lopsided rivalry. It'll show up on some, but it's not really considered a rivalry because, it'll show up, like I said, it would show up on some, but it was more of, it's an in-state rivalry. That's what they always clarified it at. Mm-hmm. But, it's a bigger rivalry for them than it is for us, I guess is the point.
Oh, sure it is, yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. We do not want to lose that game.
Right.
And the reason we don't is because it would be embarrassing to lose to them. They want to win that game because obviously we're the Sooners.
Right.
So it's, it's a big deal for them. For us to beat them is no big deal.
Right.
For them to beat us is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Right.
Which, since we're talking about Cowboy fans, do you know what the Cowboy fans' favorite wine is?
No.
We can't beat the Oklahoma Sooners.
I'm not sure if these are getting any better, Terry.
Oh, they're great because they're Oklahoma State jokes. Come on, Rob.
I'm pretty sure you said wine and not whine. But
yeah. Same thing.
Oh, okay.
But Lincoln, he can only speak to the last three. Oklahoma has won 13 of the past 15 meetings. I didn't realize this. Oklahoma State has never won 3 in a row. They've never had a winning streak more than 2. So is 2 a winning streak?
I mean, probably if you're an Aggie, it probably is.
Yeah. They've never had. Well, I read that too, but they've never had 3 wins in a row against Oklahoma. But Lincoln can only attest to what he's been involved in. Bob, after he had been in a few, treated it with, I think, a little more. Bob treated it as an in-state rivalry. I always felt. I know Barry did. Switzer was, their rivals were Texas and Nebraska, and Oklahoma State was just another hurdle, just another Big 8 team that they needed to push out of the way to get to the title. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like you said, though, Oklahoma fans treat it as more of an irritation. It's like a itch because everybody knows Oklahoma State fans. Everybody's got that one Oklahoma State fan, either in their family or in their realm of friends, that is just, though we love them, they're just irritating.
Yeah, and my brother-in-law is a Oklahoma State fan, and I mean, although he doesn't really say anything to me anymore, that's the only time I would hear from him was if they beat us.
So you hear from him once every 8 or 10, 12 years? Is that about it?
Yeah, and what's funny is they act like it's this big deal, which, I guess to them it is. So.
Yeah. Well, we as Sooner fans, we never want to lose to Oklahoma State, but we never want to lose to anybody. We're more upset if we lose to Texas, more upset if we lost to, Nebraska. And it's more of embarrassment that we get beat by Oklahoma State, kind of like if we get beat by Kansas, or Iowa State.
Yeah.
It's just not a big a deal in Oklahoma, or to Oklahoma fans as it is to Oklahoma State fans. But did you hear what Kyler said about being recruited by Oklahoma State?
He said, yeah, he's not really into Stillwater.
Yeah, he doesn't really like Stillwater and not a fan of Stillwater. I mean, I wonder when you have a quarterback like Kyler Murray and you have to go, Oklahoma State has to go recruit him, or you have to go try.
Oh, yeah, best player in the nation.
Yeah.
You got to try, don't you? Got to throw your hat in the ring.
But when you're standing there, and there's, Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas, USC, Georgia, Florida State, all standing there, and you're like, well, I'm Oklahoma State.
It's like the equivalent of a buck tooth girl coming up to you, or, Miss America. I mean, really, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I'm going to go with Miss America.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that's going to go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Rob, do you know what happened on November 30th, 1946?
So, yeah, I know exactly what happened. So, Oklahoma State embarrassed themselves somehow. No, I don't know.
Yeah. In Stillwater, number 17, Oklahoma beat Oklahoma A&M 73-12. There's a lot of 70 scored in those days.
That was my next guess, though.
73-12 was?
Yeah, I was all over that.
I'm trying to look here, finding some more of the shutouts, because this list is long.
Yeah. I'm going to have to Google it up and see when they changed their name from Aggies to Cowboys.
Yeah, it was, I'm wanting to say it was in the 50s, because they were still going, I'm looking at this list, it was still referring to them as Oklahoma A&M until the 50s.
Huh. Wonder why they did that. I mean, why would you change your... I mean, I can't imagine us ever changing, from, we're not going to be the Sooners anymore, we're going to call ourselves.
I think it came, because A&M, doesn't that stand for agricultural and mechanics? Or something?
Yeah, agriculture management or mechanics. Or
isn't that what I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah. And so an Aggie was somebody who was an agriculturalist. Boy, I barely got that out.
That was nice of you there.
But, so.
Good execution.
So they were Aggies, and when they became Oklahoma State, well, they couldn't be Oklahoma State Aggies because they weren't an agricultural school anymore. Maybe.
Aren't they still?
I don't know. I know that people who like to work on horses go there.
I mean, I think they got like 3 books in the library, and all of them are about cows or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know, but
yeah. Hey Rob, what does every OSU wife secretly want?
I don't know.
A divorce. I got a million of them, folks. Just sit here.
Boy.
Remember to tip your waitresses on your way out. So
you'll be here all week.
I'll be here all week with these. But, last year's game. Let's talk about last year's game. That was, I don't know. It was kind of like the Tech game 2 years ago. It was just a fly swatter defensive effort on both teams, which is something that Oklahoma can't afford to do this year.
No, absolutely
anymore.
Not.
I mean, and we can talk about it here in a little bit, but the remaining games, if with the exception of maybe the West Virginia game and a Big 12 title game, have got to be statement wins.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into the playoffs with 51-46 wins over Oklahoma State.
I think what I hate the most, Terry, is that we're not in the conversation with the big boys.
Right.
We are no longer in that conversation because of the defense.
Right.
If we just played mediocre defense, or maybe even just a little better than mediocre, we would be in that conversation because the offense is so good.
Right. Well, it's like we said, good defense, not average, good defense. People wanted to talk about, and it's rightfully so. Okay, our offense did basically spot 14 points in that game, and Oklahoma overcame a 14-point deficit. Mm-hmm. But they also never put the knockout punch and kept them on the ground.
Right.
And which we got the lead, and then the defense at some point in time, the defense without Bowman in that game, the defense should have shut them out in the second half. And we didn't. We allowed them 17 points.
I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, and which allowed them back in the game. Oklahoma, starting with this weekend, has to have a 55-20, 55-24, 55-0 type of bludgeoning of somebody to get that peak interest. Because let's face it, folks, Alabama just shut out LSU.
Yeah.
And what was LSU, the number 3 ranked team in the country?
Yeah, but that offense has got to be. It's terrible.
Yeah, but I mean the visual effect of it is.
Oh sure.
Oklahoma, the number this week we're number 5 ranked team, but last week we're number 6 ranked team. No, we're number 7th ranked team. Oklahoma beats an unranked Texas Tech in Texas Tech. At Texas Tech. 51-46. And a number 1 Alabama goes into number 3 LSU at LSU.
And shut them out.
Shut them out. Thumped them 29-0.
Yeah.
You know, Oklahoma has got to have some wins like that. You know, I mean, especially this week. It's double, especially next week with Kansas.
Well, I mean, to get us back in that conversation of, you know, this is one of the 4 best teams in the nation.
Right.
You know, this team could challenge Alabama because those talks were going on.
Right.
Nobody's saying that now.
Right.
Because of the defense.
Right. So. You know, and, you know, how are we going to get into that, or are we going to be able to get into that national championship race? Number one, you know, and we talked about at the beginning of the year, you know, it's really hard to go undefeated. And now here we are sitting here with 3 weeks left in the season, and we got 3 teams undefeated. Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. Yeah. Who is going to beat them on their schedules? I don't think Alabama's going to get beat.
Nope.
I don't think Clemson's going to get beat.
Nope.
Notre Dame can slip up and get beat, but, you know, they got Florida State, for crying out loud, this weekend, and Florida State couldn't beat a 6th grade team right now.
Terrible. And you know what? If Northwestern didn't get them, I don't think Syracuse will, because Syracuse is still on their schedule. Syracuse is not a bad football team, but they're not going to go in and beat Notre Dame. So, yeah, they probably don't lose. So there's your 3. There's 3 of them. So
now you got Michigan, Georgia, and Oklahoma as 1-loss teams.
Well, actually, Georgia will be a 2-loss team.
Well, right now, but Georgia's going to lose because Alabama's going to beat them. So that dumps them out of it. Now you got Michigan and Oklahoma left in the
Michigan and Oklahoma.
And who has the better resume? Well, Michigan got beat by the number 3 team in the country, which would be Notre Dame.
Wait a minute. Didn't Michigan beat Notre Dame?
No. Notre Dame's undefeated. Notre Dame beat Michigan.
Who'd they beat?
When?
Michigan has the best.
No, they got the best loss. They got beat by Notre Dame. Oklahoma got beat by Texas.
Okay. It was the other way around. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, there's that. So our only hope then is that really basically our hope is Notre Dame or Michigan get beat. And Michigan, probably the last chance they have to lose a game would be Ohio State. But
that's not going to happen.
You know,
Ohio State's way overranked.
And so basically everybody keeps saying if we went out, we'll let the chips will fall, it'll work itself out and Oklahoma will be there. That's not going to be the case. I mean, you got to have 2 teams stumble, you know, drastically. Notre Dame and Michigan. One of those 2 teams have to stumble drastically for us to get in.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Georgia jumps up and beats Alabama in the championship game, then there's no chance.
No chance.
No chance that we get in.
So we get Central Florida
in the Peach Bowl or something like that. You know, and I saw some stuff today. A lot of places aren't even picking us to win the Big 12 now. That's what they're picking, you know, because the Big 12 champion, if they're not in the playoffs, they go to the Sugar Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And they play the SEC runner-up that's not in the playoffs. So, yeah, that'd be great to go play Georgia again. But, but a lot of people are saying that Oklahoma is going to end up in the Peach Bowl playing. I've seen UCF, and I saw somebody else too. I can't remember who the other team was that they were having. So, you know, basically, you know, everything's going to hinge on the last 3 weeks if we get in at all.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm starting to lose hope.
We got to win out. That's the start. You know, that's the only thing we can control now is we got to win out.
Right.
So the only way we're going to do that is if the offense does not sputter.
Right.
Right, because the defense is not guaranteeing
because
anything.
The defense is going to sputter.
Well, likely it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need that offense to continue to roll and be the offense that it has been all year, and not some of. I mean, I know we scored 51 on Tech, but there was some sputter.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 drives. Yeah. You know, the worst type of sputter you can get. throwing 2 interceptions and,
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, I'm going to contend that if our defense was any good, you could have at least held one of those drives to a field goal.
Yeah.
One of those interceptions to a field goal.
Yeah.
But, we can't do that. We haven't had the ability all year long to do that.
And I don't understand it because we seem better, we look better, the stats were better, but they're just not stopping people.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's just a weird beast, and what it's looking like now is that Oklahoma may very well be wasting another championship offense for the second straight year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because these two offenses, last year's and this year's, were the most dynamic offenses out there in college football. And we're sitting here, 3 weeks left in the season, 4 weeks with, our champion, Big 12 championship game going. One loss is going to keep us out in a game that, our defense only showed up one quarter in.
Yeah.
And ended up getting getting the defensive coordinator fired and all the other stuff that went on during that time. And now we're going to sit here be the 5th ranked team. That's what's going to happen. It looks like we're going to be the 5th ranked team, sitting there going crap, and we're going to be griping. And I'll be the first one to start griping that it should be an 8-team playoff. I've always thought it should be an 8-team playoff.
Yeah.
A playoff is not 4 teams. That's not a playoff.
Well, we're probably the highest ranked team with the worst kind of defense.
Oh, yeah.
In that ranking.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, to some degree, I just feel like they're going to flip a switch and start playing some defense, but it just hasn't.
But, I mean, my point is it too late to get into the playoffs? It's
for
too
us to
late.
Be in control, it is.
Right. I mean, 3 points. 3 points is going to end up separating us from, another playoff bid.
Yeah, all we can do now is just try and shine up the penny,
right?
And just try and be the shiniest penny in the
shiniest
well,
one loss.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean. We got to beat we got to win the next. We got to Oklahoma State, Kansas, West Virginia, and either West Virginia, Texas, or Iowa State. Whoever ends up in the other side of that, we have got to beat them up.
Yeah,
bad.
And we need to make it look pretty good.
Right,
we need to make it look like
to where they can sit here and go, well, you know what, Oklahoma. Because it could still happen. I mean, people have said Oklahoma's offense, we've talked about it too, Rob, is that people want to see – there's people out there that want to see Kyler and Tagovailoa to
Tagovailoa.
Yeah. There's people out there that want to see that matchup.
Yep.
And as bad as our defense is, Michigan's offense may be worse than our defense.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And that if we, the only way, like you said, if we got to be the shiniest penny in the bucket.
Yeah,
that's what we have to do because their defense, that Michigan could end up winning the rest of their games 14-7, and they go, they beat, Ohio State 14-7. They beat whoever else they're playing 14-7 and 14-7. But we got Oklahoma sitting over here with a number 1 ranked offense in the country, Heisman candidate. They won their games 51-10, 51-21, and 55-28, and then won their championship game 62-14. Who do you think they're going to sit there and go, geesh,
right?
What's the most exciting game to watch? Is it going to be Alabama and Michigan? No, it's not.
No, albeit those are two, blue blood schools. They would take that game, but I think they would rather pit the two guys that are going to walk the podium.
Right.
It's going to come down to, to Kyler and to Tua. To some degree, Kyler may have taken a step back this weekend because he threw those 2 ugly picks.
Yeah. But
he still has more yards. He still has, I think, a better completion, more touchdowns, more rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns. Tua only leads in a few categories over Kyler. but he's playing on the best team.
Right. And also, I think they're not counting Kyler's 2 runs the other day where he ran 30 yards backwards.
Yeah.
And then gained 5 yards, and then another play where he ran like 50 yards from side to side and then gained 7 yards. They should count those as rushing yards, shouldn't they? He didn't get tackled.
Well, they should ask the question that they used to ask. If Tua was not playing for Alabama, would Alabama still be undefeated?
Everybody says yes. I haven't seen their other quarterbacks, so
Jalen
yes,
Hurts,
they would.
Yeah, you've seen
it. Yeah. Okay.
And if Kyler Murray was not playing for the University of Oklahoma, we'd have a couple of losses, 2 or 3 probably.
Yeah, we could.
Because single-handedly, he has done some damage.
Yeah.
So, that question used to be asked in regard to the Heisman, and to help you kind of understand who is the most valuable person to their team. Alabama's going to be undefeated without Tua Tagovailoa, whatever.
Right.
But I don't think Oklahoma is.
No, probably not. But then again, I don't know if we could say that because it would be a completely different style of offense.
Sure would.
I mean, he would play to the strengths of
Austin Kendall.
Yeah, Austin Kendall. So, hey, Rob, what do you call a good-looking girl walking around Oklahoma State campus?
Tourist.
Visitor.
Oh, I was close. I drove by there the other day.
Why?
Well, I don't really know why, but that didn't set up very well. I think it goes something like this. I drove by the OSU the other day. You know what I got?
What?
A degree. I know that's terrible. That's terrible.
What are the best 4 years of an Oklahoma State grad's life?
I don't know.
The 3rd grade.
Oh boy.
I love this stuff. I love hating on Oklahoma State.
Yep.
What TV show will you never see an Oklahoma State grad on?
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeopardy. I'm marking them off as I go down, man. I'm marking them off so I don't repeat any of them.
I think we're all waiting for you to get that last one.
Let me read you something.
All right.
I want to read this quote and see if you can tell me where it's from. The Bedlam Series is an all-sports competition between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, with every head-to-head matchup worth 1 point. Oklahoma State has won the all-sports series for 5 consecutive years, capturing the 2017 and 18 series by an 18-10 score, to post the largest margin of victory since the scoring system was implemented in 1999 to 2000 academic year. Where do you think I got that from?
From the OSU
website.
Well, they're talking about the Bedlam Bell, which nobody really even cares about anymore.
Yeah. When you look up Bedlam, you go to Wikipedia, it all talks about football. It all starts with football, and everything kind of generates that. But Oklahoma State, starts it off. It literally starts off the Bedlam game between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, and the 109th consecutive season these teams have faced each other. OU leads the all-time series 87, 18, and 7, which I think that's wrong, but I'll have to double check. And Oklahoma leads the series in Norman 41, 10-2. The Cowboys' last win was in 2014 when they defeated the Sooners 38-35 in Norman. The Bedlam Series is an all sports.
Yeah. Did it say which sports they won to get the win that?
But what's funny is that if you look on Oklahoma State's website, there's not a definition for the Bedlam Series. Doesn't. You
mean if you look on Oklahoma's?
Yeah, Oklahoma Sooner site. Yeah, I couldn't find anything. If there is, somebody could correct me, but I didn't see it. And it's funny is if you do a Google search, Oklahoma football, what pops up? What's your first choice?
If you Google Oklahoma football?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Come on, Rob. It's not that hard.
National championship.
Yeah, Oklahoma Sooners website. If you Google search Oklahoma State football, do you know what the first line is?
What?
Oklahoma Sooner football. Even when you did, at least I did today, when I did a Google search for Oklahoma State football, the first search option was Soonersports.com.
I bet they hate that.
So even when you're trying to find Oklahoma State football on a Google search, Oklahoma still shows up first.
Yeah, I just love it when the fans go off. Like if they're playing somebody and the commentators go, well, Oklahoma, or I've even heard some of them go, yeah, the Sooners, instead of the guy.
They'll mess it up.
They go off.
Hey, how do you break an Oklahoma State graduate's finger?
I don't know.
Punch him in the nose. See, all nice, clean family fun here, Rob.
I'm a fan, so.
But anyway, I mean, I'm not that worried about this game this weekend, which bothers me.
You feel like you should be worried then?
No, I'm more worried, and which bothers me because hopefully, the team and the coaching staff has a better mentality than I do. I'm sure they do. But I'm more concerned with the bigger picture, is how bad we need to beat them, and then if we're sitting back going, there's no way for us to work our way into this college football playoff without basically a miracle.
Yeah.
And
miracle might be going a little too far.
Yeah. and which is the point. Again, let's talk a little bit about the playoff series and everything. Is it should have always been 8 teams. Everybody always talked about at some point in time they're going to have to change it, because when you do have 3 or 4 no-loss teams and 3 or 4 one-loss teams, how can you determine the top 4 out of that group?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and they're not going to be able to do it with, they're not going to be able to make everybody happy. Of course, you can't ever make everyone happy, but, it was getting worse and worse because, the old BCS system, well, now
it was great the first 4 years, and everybody sit here going, wait a second, because it did. That was the first time we ever were guaranteed a 1-2 matchup.
Yeah. Well, I agree, but there's a whole lot of teams on the outside looking in that situation. And the more, the closer teams get, and it is getting that way, the more undefeated teams that we're going to have, or more one-loss teams we're going to have. And it's just going to be harder and harder to pick that.
Right.
So it's happening, already in the 14 playoffs. So
right. And it rolled quickly because it was, we pitted 1 and 2. And again, I think everybody was happy with that the first 4 years. Then you start sitting here with, with a Florida or an Oklahoma, and we're sitting there going, man, we stumbled once, and that keeps us out of the national championship. That's not fair. They stumbled 2. They lost the game. You had that whole argument, and then you had the argument for 3, 4, 5, and 6, really 3 and 4. And then they said, okay, well, we're going to give a 4-team playoff. And I thought, initially, that was the dumbest thing I ever heard. I still think it's a dumb idea. You're only going to give 4 teams a chance to play for the title. I mean, come on. It should have always, 16, I can see people saying that's too many games because
they're still students after all.
They're still students, and it's a violent sport. It's going to run it through, you're going to have to cut into some of your regular season play. But you know what? 8 teams, and they said, well, then you're going to hurt the bowl system. Well, so what? Okay. 1 through 8 goes to the playoffs, and 9 through 112 go to bowl games.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you still get the extra game. You still get to go. People will still watch the bowl games because, It's football, for crying out loud.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I do watch if I come home on a Tuesday night on December 20th and flipping through the channels, go, oh, hey, you know, Temple's playing Old Dominion in the Scotch Tape Bowl.
Still watch it.
I still watch it.
Yeah.
So you could give those teams, and then you could still leave the granddaddies, the big bowls in place like they are now. And you could have, you know, your conference championships, and you have 1 through 8, and have those big bowl games, you know, 1 versus 8, the Rose Bowl, you know, 2 versus 7, the Sugar Bowl, you know, 3 versus 6, the Fiesta Bowl, 4 and 5, the Cotton Bowl, and I don't know what other bowls there are, and then you roll the final 4 into whatever the big bowls are left, or make the first 8 games or the first 4 games of the playoffs a home and home, or, you know, a home series. You know what I mean? You play, you know, make it a tournament. You play, you know, Alabama would play. Who's number 8 right now? Let's say it's Ohio State at Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, and the winner goes on to the semifinals, and the loser goes and plays in the Cotton Bowl.
So they get another bowl.
Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean? You could still make it something that would make I mean, this thing's making billions of dollars with 4 teams. You add 8 teams, that's a ton of money.
Yeah. Logistically speaking, though, it's, you know, it's a lot to put on those athletes, a lot to put on the schools. I mean, I get it that they're making money off that deal, but, you know, there's a bigger picture I think that we should consider.
Yeah, but I mean, Rob, what was it when we were in high school? Didn't Oklahoma, you know, we only play like 10, 11 games, and now we play 13?
Yeah.
I mean, the pros were the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a more physical sport than basketball and all that other stuff and baseball, but you're not going to throw this on me that it, you know, makes it harder academically on these kids when basketball, you know, flies to San Antonio on Tuesday, and then to,
well, the Sooners playing that Hawaii Tip-Off Classic every year,
and then to UMass on Friday, and then Norman on Sunday. Where is their study time? Where is their class time?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and during those other days, they're practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and baseball is the same way. You know, baseball, they're playing in, you know, Sam Houston, and then they're out to play in the USC Classic, and then they're, you know, football is more physically demanding than all of them, I think, as far as the short amount of time. But I always think that's the argument to say to keep it from going, you know, going any further than that. I think the playoffs should start, an 8-team playoff should start on December 15th. I mean, 2 weeks before this crud of sitting here for a month to wait to play a bowl game.
Oh, no.
Is ridiculous.
It's terrible.
You know, you start to play, you know, we play the Big 12 championship on the 1st. 2 weeks later, your first round, you know, the 8 teams start playing in the playoffs.
Before the bowl season starts, actually. Yeah, get that first round out of the way.
Yeah, and then everybody plays the bowls between the 1st and, you know, between the 15th and the 1st, done, and you got your national championship game the following week.
Yeah.
See, if they
Sounds
would
good
put
to
me
me
on the committees for these things, I would be, I could solve all their problems.
Solve all the problems.
And because that's what I'm here for. I'm a problem solver. You know, unlike Oklahoma State grads. You know, oh, here's a good one. Here's one, Rob. How does an Oklahoma State fan know his wife is having a great sex life?
I don't know.
He reads her Twitter feed.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
But
ladies and gentlemen, we have entered the PG-13 section of the podcast.
Well, what do you call an Oklahoma State Cowboy at a college football playoff game?
Visitor.
A referee.
Oh.
Oh, but anyway, did you come up with any of your? You're still stuck on your only unrealistic fear is the scorpions and wasps.
Oh no, I'm scared of lots of stuff, but physically, I guess they're just those two.
Well, everybody that listens to us knows we're scared to death of heights. So
well, yeah, there's that.
There, but that's not realistic.
I don't think it's scared. I think we are just smarter than everybody.
Yeah,
else.
It's it's not an unrealistic fear because if you're on top of something, you can fall off of it.
Absolutely, and it's a long way down.
Yeah, and it's like Gene Simmons from Kiss. He flies all over the world, but he will do nothing. He has never bungee jumped, skydived, jumped off a high dive, drove race cars or anything like that. Do you know why? It's an unneeded risk. He said, why would I want to risk my life? And his kids, I was watching that show that they had, and his kids were like, jumping off of a high dive is not he goes, yes, it is. There is no need for me to climb a ladder and jump off of something into a pool, which makes perfectly good sense to me.
Well, so I think I hesitate to call it a fear, but
respect,
healthy respect for heights. So if, like when I'm on the very top floor at the stadium,
yeah,
I can't really get close to the edge without putting my hand on something.
Right.
And that wall is high enough that I'm not going to fall over it, but I just can't. I just can't.
Are you talking about the upper?
The upper deck, not the
crow's nest?
No, not the camera deck.
Okay, because I'm going to say
you can fall out there.
The camera deck is like, thigh high. I mean, you can.
I've only been up there twice.
You trip. You stumble on your way a foot away from that or 3 feet away. You're plunging to your death.
You're dead. So yeah, there's no reason to go up there at all, ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. The same way, and I know people pay probably really good money for those east upper deck seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only walked out on that one deck, and
there's a whole section higher than that.
And I don't know how you can enjoy a football game watching from that far away.
Yeah.
That high up.
No, I wouldn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I've sat in the upper deck on the west side, and it takes me a good quarter to get used to. I'm uncomfortable, and I get vertigo.
Yeah.
While I'm there, I got to kind of, when people start getting there, I actually get more comfortable because I can focus on like the person's head in front of me. But
well, as long as I keep when I'm up on that upper deck, as long as I keep my eyes at, looking out over Norman, which is really kind of nice, and not looking down at the ground, that helps out a lot.
Or looking up. Do you ever look up and get the woozy thing too?
No, that's not smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Bird flies over and you raise your head and you're like, ooh.
You don't want me falling.
Yeah, the world just I've been talking to you about the Kiss concert and everything that's coming, but I didn't realize that the Backstreet Boys were playing at Boone Pickens Stadium this year. Did you know that?
Who is that?
The Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back, all right.
No.
You didn't know that? Yeah, they're favored by 10 points.
All righty,
man, I hooked you and reeled you.
Yeah, you got me with that one. Yeah.
That was one of my more favorite ones, folks.
Yeah, you got me there.
But anyway, as you can tell, there's, I don't know if I'm, it's not excitement. It's more of a concern that we're just not going to reach the goal that we wanted to this year.
Well, and a lot of people say they don't want to reach that goal. They don't want to go and face an Alabama. If we get that 4th seed, then we get destroyed by Alabama. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you.
No, it's one, it's a recruiting tool.
Yeah.
2, it's money.
Well, it means something to make it there.
Right.
It just means something to make it there.
And what are we in our 5th year of it now?
And honestly, they said once before that we were going to get destroyed by Alabama, and what happened?
Yeah, and that was in the Sugar Bowl. That was the year before the playoffs started.
So,
yeah, because we've been doing it now for 4 years, isn't it? This is the 5th year.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma's been in a half of them.
Twice, yeah.
And, it's really Oklahoma, Clemson, and Alabama are the staples of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And more of that is Alabama, Clemson.
Sure.
And it broke my heart literally that we weren't in the first playoff. I thought we've got to make that first playoff to be a team in it.
Yeah.
And and then the next year that we weren't in it, we were in it the second year, then we weren't in it the next year, and that's when Ohio State and Washington and Michigan State, or was it Ohio State and Washington, just got obliterated?
I can't remember.
Yeah, because Michigan got beat by Alabama, got obliterated by Alabama in the national championship game, I think. But it was just Alabama just smoked Ohio State, and Michigan just smoked Washington. I can't remember what they were, but that year we should have been in it. But, I don't know. Because, that's the one thing I love about college football. I mean, I love about pro football is the playoff scenario, because all I want my Steelers to do is make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Make the playoffs, anything can happen.
Right.
And college football, you got to worry about a loss back in October.
Yeah. You're out.
You're out.
You're out.
There doesn't matter that you come back and win your conference and you do all the other things right. But you got that one loss, and you know what? That one loss, in an opinion of 8 people, is a worse loss than Michigan's.
Yeah, did you see that? They were all putting their little hats on the hat rack.
Yeah, I don't know what that all is all about.
It's symbolic, meaning they're taking their status or,
their school off their head, or
yeah, I guess.
No.
I don't know, but you don't have to be you don't have to do that crap. I mean, just get in there and do your job. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But well, I guess I'm going to save some jokes for Wednesday night or Thursday podcast. Well, you don't like my jokes. You're just mad because you didn't think about having jokes ready.
Maybe.
You got to come prepared for this stuff, Rob.
Yep.
But we will see you guys on Thursday for our Tailgate Like a Champion with all of our buddies. And that's another thing is, we are having the tailgate at the corner of Jenkins and Brooks, right on the northeast corner of the stadium. Just cross the street over there, and we're right in the middle of all the tailgates there. And we got a pretty good crowd supposed to show up this Saturday. So,
outstanding.
We're going to have some chili and beverages of the adult and non-adult type.
I will not be there.
You will not. You'll drive by every now and then, and
I may drive by once.
Yeah. But we got a pretty good group already saying they're going to show up, so we're looking forward to it. May have some surprise guests. You never know. But I think that's about it for today. What do you think, Rob?
I think that's good enough.
Yeah. So Oklahoma Stank sucks.
Yes. If I could put horns down to them, I would, but that doesn't mean
we
anything.
We can put pistols down. That sounds kind of
pistols down.
Pistols down. Pistols misfiring. Oh, we got to think of something better than that.
Pew pew pew.
Pew pew pew. There it is. Pew pew pew, Rob.
All right, pew pew pew, Terry.
Boomer, Rob.
Boomer, Terry.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to,